today we're going to be talking about Capcom and the announcements that were made at the Game Awards, and why they're so much more important than I thought. So, last Thursday was the Game Awards, and it was a huge show. Tons of great announcements. It was probably the best one that they've held in years. But the announcements that were huge were some of the most important announcements I think gaming has had, and I think it's I didn't really understand how important they were until days later, and just to catch everybody up to speed, Capcom announced Okami's coming back and Onimusha's coming back, and that's huge because these were dormant IPs. Like, Okami had two games. It had the original in 2006, and then the DS one, which I believe came out in 2010. Don't quote me on that, and then Onimusha had 4 games, I believe. I didn't really do much research on how many games Onimusha had, but they've been practically dead, besides like Amaterasu showing up in various Capcom games since then, and just like references here and there. And the Amaterasu had a reference in Astrobot that came out, and Onimusha's just been dormant, besides that remaster that they did a few years back, Onimusha Warlords. And I was excited for these announcements because I'm a huge Capcom fan, but I didn't understand the importance of how big these announcements were. Specifically Okami, I'd like to talk a little bit about that one today, because it's important to know how big of a deal Okami coming back is, because while Okami isn't like the biggest game in the world, it's huge for many reasons. And one, Okami coming back is great because it realizes Capcom isn't just a Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter powerhouse. They're putting out games that they're going back to IP that has been dormant for years and years, and bringing them back and making them a big deal. Like, they're making these games a big deal, and I think that's so awesome, because gaming has been very rough over the past few years. Not necessarily Capcom, but because they've been killing it, just to say the least. But with all the layoffs and all these live service games that are coming out, it's just been kind of bleak, and indie developers have been really pushing the envelope for what games could be, and we don't really see that in AAA gaming. So Capcom going back to these IP that are just kind of not a Resident Evil or a Street Fighter or Marvel vs. Capcom or what have you, it's a big deal. Big deal for many reasons. And we can trace it, like, they kind of started dabbling in this with Dragon's Dogma, because Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out, it showed that they didn't just focus on their heavy hitters. They're going back to franchises or games that had like one title to bring them into the modern era and do something with them and make them huge. And to see that happen to Onimusha and Okami is just huge, because it shows fans that they care, and they care about making quality games. And as you know, like, the past few Capcom games have just been like 10 out of 10 hitters and no misses. I mean, Exoprimal came out, but that game was good. It wasn't even bad. It just, even though it wasn't the best game that they've come out with, it's still pretty damn good. So to see them come out and announce Onimusha was the first announcement, and I was pretty stoked for it. I was like, I can't believe they're doing Onimusha, and it looks like they're doing something great with it. And that's the one that we have a release window for, at least, or a release year. So that's 2026. I didn't read too much into that one, but towards the end of the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley went on and he was hyping up the game announcement that was coming out, and it was Okami, and he was getting choked up, and I was like, I thought, okay, this is where we get Half-Life 3. That Half-Life 3 was actually gonna happen, and then there were the drums, and I was like, and then the music started, and then it had like that kind of like that brushwork, but it reminded me of Ghost of Yote or Ghost of Tsushima. So I was like, oh, are we getting like Ghost of Yote info right now? That's really cool. But like Jeff was getting choked up. I was like, is Jeff getting choked? I love Ghost of Yote, don't get me wrong, but Jeff getting choked up over Ghost of Yote would be kind of a stretch, unless he really loves Ghost of Yote. Jeff Keighley, if you love Ghost of Yote, get choked up over it all you want. But and then it kept going, and I was like, I don't know what this could be. I had no idea. I was like, okay, this dog's running. Kept going, and then it gets to where it's brighter, and then what I believe is Amaterasu just running through the field, and then the color starts coming into the picture, and then it's just Okami sequel, and I was hooting and hollering. I was all for it, because I'm a big Okami fan, and just to see that, but also to see it's a Capcom and game director Hideki Kamiya, I was like, let's go. It was just a huge announcement, and that told me many things. Is that Capcom is willing to Hideki Kamiya leaving Platinum Games last July. I think it was either this July or last July. Him leaving to create Clover's studio is huge, because the original studio that worked on Okami was called Clover. So him starting another company and it being called Clover's is pretty huge, because of many reasons. One, it's a callback to Clover Studio, and two, according to an article from VGC, written by Jordan Midler, great article. I'm going to link it in the description below. He was just talking about how with Clover Studio, he created Clover Studio not just as like a nostalgic thing, but he wants to carry over those same development principles from Clover to Clovers and just work with that same. He wanted to work with the same principles when creating Okami, and just it being driven by passion and not just, oh, we're making another Okami because it's gonna make us money, because we damn well know that Okami's probably an Okami sequel is probably gonna make money, but Okami did not sell well originally in 2006, so it's clearly not fueled by money, because Okami sequel would not be making huge bucks, but it's just fueled by the passion to create something new in a beloved franchise, and it not just being a cash grab. And just to see that trailer made me think that we need to really, really, really pay attention to what Capcom is doing, because if we're getting Onimusha and or an Okami sequel, I truly believe that we're entering a new era for Capcom that is gonna be huge for people who are fans of their dormant IP. Like, I think Mega Man is probably next to get this treatment. Like, I think we're gonna see many franchises come back in a way that is going to put Capcom on top. And I truly believe that Capcom is a developer to really pay attention to. I know they haven't been doing like chump work. They've been putting out like game after game after game, and they're all amazing. So I think it's important to put a spotlight on Capcom and actually Okami specifically, just because I've been playing through Okami on my Switch and my PS5 for a couple days now. I'm just kind of like, I downloaded after that announcement. I downloaded it, and I was like, okay, let's play some Okami to get a refresher, and just to playing that game, it's like, okay, this is something special, and we don't get a lot of this type of game. And since Okami is very Zelda-like, in it's just very it's heavily inspired by Zelda, you could tell. And so if Capcom's making a sequel, I think this is the game for fans of Zelda that are kind of put off by the new style of open world Zelda, where they kind of just got rid of those old conventions of making a Zelda game. I truly believe that Okami is a game that you should play right now, and it is on sale. I'm not sponsored, obviously, by Capcom, but it's on sale for like $5. Like, you could pick up Okami on your Switch or your PlayStation or PC, whatever you play it on, for like $5 and get. If you have yet to play it, Okami is your Zelda game that you're looking for. If you like classic Zelda, play Okami. And a sequel is exciting because Nintendo's not gonna make. I don't think we're gonna get another Zelda game like that unless it's like a remake or a remaster. Okami's kind of Capcom is making. I believe they'll be making a game that is gonna be on that level of a classic Zelda game, and they're kind of doing Nintendo's work for them. But besides that part, like, I know this is kind of like rambling. I don't really have a script. It's just like thoughts off the top of the head. But I just I envision this game is so important to me right now, and I think it should be important. I think this is. Let me rephrase this by saying it. This is the most important Capcom game. I think this is the most important game that they've announced, because it shows that they're willing to work with old partners that used to be at Capcom. Like, I never thought in a million years that Hideki Kamiya was going to be back at Capcom making. He's not like with Capcom, but he's working with Capcom to make a new Okami. That is a huge deal, because if we're bringing this talent back, what's stopping them from being like, okay, well, here's Shinji Mikami's working on a new horror game for us, or he's working on a new Resident Evil. We get Shinji Mikami back as a director. It's just it's something special that I think needs to be focused on. And with Okami specifically, I saw like a few clips of people just being like, is Okami's a big deal, but like I see kind of people being like, why is Jeff getting worked up over this? And I was like, I think this is probably the most important Capcom game that has been announced. Like, I think this is one that needs to be looked at, because I could see this being an all-timer. Like, this is going to be a huge deal, and if you haven't played Okami, please go play it. And I don't know, just I know this is just like me blabbering about Capcom and Okami, but I truly do believe that we can be entering a new era for Capcom that's even better than the one that we're in right now. I think starting next year, we're going to start seeing more and more from this team. not Clover's, but Capcom in general. After Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, I can't think of any. Like, we still haven't heard a lot from Pragmata, which I think we need to hear from because that's an interesting, just kind of like nothing right now, just nothing on Pragmata. But I think Resident Evil 9's next, and then I think we're gonna get back to Devil May Cry and um I wouldn't be thinking that all we're gonna get is new Devil May Cry. Like I would start expecting to see Capcom franchises we haven't seen in a long time. Like I would start thinking we're gonna be seeing more Mega Man or something soon, because if we're getting announcements like Okami and Onimusha, we're gonna see some crazy stuff that is just like you would never think you'd see. Um, I don't even know what I'm doing with this video. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, it was kind of like yapping off about Okami and Capcom and why it's so important, but and just go after this video, go and read the VGC article that I'm going to link below, because I think the interview with Hideki Kamiya is very, very great, and it's an important read. If you want to know why I'm so excited about this Okami announcement, everything is about the game, the original game, and also just that interview. I was like, oh, what they're doing with the studio is something super special, and I think we should keep an eye on it. But yeah, other than that, I don't know if this video's good or anything, but I'm just kind of like yapping off. I'm just spilling my knowledge out, and yeah, just keep an eye on Capcom. I think this is more important than I think this Okami announcement is more important than people are letting on about. Like, I think we should really, really pay attention to what is going on over at Capcom. And specifically, we should be more excited about Okami than I think we're letting ourselves be. Because I think this is something that is going to. I think it'll change gaming. I think Okami is going to be a huge deal. It's going to be a huge deal. Whenever Okami comes back, I think we're going to get like a Breath of the Wild level shakeup. This is going to be a game that's looked at in terms of design and pushing the medium forward. But yeah, go read that article. I link below, and go play Okami. Yeah, just pick it up, $5. Go play it if you haven't, and yeah, catch you later.